Hey guys, if you deal with anxiety, especially at night before bed when you're trying to fall asleep, then this video is for you because I'll be sharing with you 3 of my biggest tips for how to calm anxiety at night. I'm Meredith from healinsomniafromwithin.com, and as a former insomniac myself, bedtime anxiety was my jam, particularly not being able to calm my mind down because I just couldn't stop thinking whenever I wanted to fall asleep. My mind has a tendency to never stop, and so I would be stuck for hours thinking about my life, replaying situations over and over again in my head, and worrying nonstop about pretty much everything. And no matter what I would do, I just couldn't shut my mind off and fall asleep. Fortunately, I don't have that problem anymore. So make sure you stick around till the end of this video because if you do, I'll be letting you know how you can grab my free sleep routine guide where I give you even more tips for how to ensure that your evening is as anxiety-free as possible. Also, if you have your own tips for how to calm down anxiety, then go ahead and leave them in the comments so that you can share them with the other viewers and we can all help each other feel less anxious and get more sleep. When we're dealing with anxiety before bed or when you're trying to fall asleep, one of the biggest tips that I can give you so that you can start really tackling nighttime anxiety effectively is to first understand a little bit about how the brain works. And I'm going to try to break this down so it's really simple and straightforward. Most of us have what I like to call a default thought pattern, and there are 3 main types of thought patterns, and they're based on where you are placing most of your attention throughout the day. So the 3 types of thought patterns are where you're spending most of your time thinking about. So you're either thinking mostly about the past, the present, or the future. And it's likely that you lean more towards just one of these the majority of the time. And most of us end up focusing much more heavily on the past or the future. Instead of paying attention to what we're doing in the immediate situation that we're in, the mind loves to drift away, either remembering the past or imagining future events. And with anxiety, a lot of the time you encounter having a more future dominant thought pattern, which can lead you to feeling anxious at night because your mind is probably thinking a bunch about things that might happen. And this can look like anything really, for example, what is he gonna think of me? How am I gonna get through tomorrow? What if this happens and then because of that, then I can't do this other thing? Like, it's really easy to go down the rabbit hole of what if scenarios. And as I'm sure you've experienced, it's also pretty much impossible to control any of the thoughts that are coming into your head. It's like they just appear and they pop into your mind and now you're left to just deal with them. At least, I know that that's what it feels like from my own experience dealing with this. So the reason that my first tip to calm anxiety at night is to understand a little bit about how the brain works is because once you understand that, 1, it's normal to have a bunch of thoughts, and also that what you're experiencing with nighttime anxiety is just your brain's tendency to focus mostly on the future. Well, knowing that can really help you approach the situation a bit more objectively and can help you start to relax a bit and not give so much importance to the anxiety. And one of the main reasons that, you have these sorts of constant anxious feelings at night is also because your brain has gotten used to that. And so when nighttime comes around, your brain cues in the anxious thoughts. It's pretty much a habitual cycle because the brain likes to automate as much as possible. And so your brain has automated anxious thoughts at night. And there's actually many reasons why the brain would do this, even though clearly it's quite annoying to have to deal with this. But I also have some other videos on the brain that I'll link up in the comments if you want to check those out. So now, you're probably wondering, if you're stuck like this. And the great news is the answer is no, you're not stuck like this. And there is a way for you to address this so that you don't have to deal with anxiety forever. And that actually brings me right into my next tip, which is to consciously respond to your anxious thoughts. When you're feeling anxious at night, notice what thoughts you're having that are making you feel anxious, and then create a dialogue with yourself in your own head and tell those thoughts that you don't need their input right now. I do this all the time, and I swear you're not crazy if you do this. This is actually a very smart thing to do, because if you don't do this, then your thoughts will keep running your life for you on autopilot. But when you create a dialogue with your own thoughts, that is actually how you reclaim your power and take back your control one thought at a time. Thoughts create feelings. So you have a thought, and then that thought signals a feeling. And so in this case, that feeling is anxiety. And so by confronting the thoughts that are making you feel anxious and telling them that you don't need them anymore, you can then also consciously replace those thoughts with new thoughts that don't make you feel anxious. So this actually leads me into my next tip, which is very important, and it is to don't believe everything that you think. If you have to write this down on a piece of paper and stare at it, then by all means do so, especially when it comes to my fellow future thinkers, myself included. You know, I'm always thinking about the future, whether I'm daydreaming or running through all of those doomsday what-if scenarios in my head. At the end of the day, the worst case scenario rarely ends up happening. So save yourself some stress and don't believe everything you think. It doesn't do yourself any favors to worry about things that haven't happened yet, and in a lot of cases they probably won't ever happen. So you really deserve to feel great as often as possible. And so if there's nothing happening to you or happening in your life, like literally right now as you're watching this video, that you need to like drop everything and go attend and figure out, then just do your best to not worry about it any longer. And you can actually use tips number 1 and number 2 from this video to help you do that. Remembering how the brain works and that your thoughts are on autopilot, and 2, consciously responding to your anxious thoughts instead of letting them get out of control. And then lastly, number 3 is don't believe everything that you think. Remember to go ahead and grab my free sleep routine guide that I'm going to be linking up in the description below if you want even more tips on how to fall asleep easily and no longer deal with anxiety at night. If this video helped you in any way, then remember to subscribe to my channel, click the bell for notifications, and also press the like button so that this video can get found by more and more people so that we can all help each other beat anxiety together. I've got more videos on anxiety and insomnia, which I will link up over here, and these are also great ones to watch next. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.